All right. So basically, I'm going to start making these videos just so that I combine my process with my content creation. Not all of my drawings are going to be my favorite, but I do kind of like the idea of going through everything and explaining sort of the methodology behind these drawings. It's pretty simple. It's like a basic canon that I came up with to make these particular squiggly drawings. There's a lot of leeway between how they look, as you can see from some of the other ones. Over here, there's like something that I don't like too much that has already come up, but I'm gonna push through. In the end, I end up not loving this drawing, but I think that the color choices are interesting. We're doing that right now. I'm looking at what we got here, and I end up deciding something that's a little bit out of the normal for these drawings. Usually I kind of make them look how I would imagine they kind of look, or have a rainbow pattern going up and down these spaces. This time I thought they were going to look a little bit closer, but I do like the way it looks. It's an interesting thing because part of the thing about these drawings is that they are essentially like a lot of people use Escher as a reference, and I don't want to fight that, but basically the MC Escher, the idea of not necessarily being able to see what you're looking at, where the image kind of maybe flips for you and you don't, even though it is volumetric, you can't tell where the space is or isn't. And so this is a much more simplified one. Usually I have more individual repeating elements, which on this one I kind of just wanted to bang out a quick one. Sorry, that came out weird. The other thing that's important to think about is these markers. I like them, but they do cost money, and so if you are into them, they're not like super easy to use right out the gate. You kind of have to learn. There's a lot of stuff about how if you you can move the stuff, but that you can also fuck all of that up. So it is important to keep in mind that it's not necessarily just easy to use out the box. Although I do like it better than using colored pencils. And it's nice to have something that you can just kind of paint with that's contained. It can get messy when you're refilling them, but for the most part they're pretty, as long as you keep your pens clean after you change the ink, you're not gonna get fingerprints that end up on everything, which can be a nightmare. But as you can see, I'm starting to get better at filling out these big spaces. I used to use the brush end to try to cover all that space, but I feel like using the flat end and just kind of covering a large area with it is giving me most even results. As you'll see later, when I get into the purple, it's a little bit of a mess, particularly in one spot, because I get a really good even coat first, and then I don't know, I guess I let it sit, and then I tried to blend it in. You'll see when it comes up. In the meantime, these greens are coming on pretty easy. It's hard, I don't go up to the edge when I'm doing these because they bleed so much, so they will bleed over your outlines, which can be a little messy, especially if you're using complementary colors. You're gonna blend them together and you're gonna get a graying effect. So you'll see later, as I'm doing this, I'm just kind of filling everything out. You can look, there's a couple spots already that have just marker bleed, specifically in the green row at the bottom of the screen. And so I'm gonna go back and hit that with a colorless blender before I go in with the other colors, just because otherwise it will get muddy. So that's a tip that I learned the hard way. But you can't, like, I have drawings where I've just put the completely wrong color in the wrong spot, and as long as you like keep hitting it with Blender, let it dry, don't fuck with the don't mess up the surface of the paper, you should be fine. Other than that, you know, so yeah, here I'm hitting it with the Blender, just because when I put in that orange, I don't want it to mix with the violet or with the different colors of green, because if they're more adjacent, it's not a big deal, but if they're far apart, whew, those colors mix together, and then you've got a whole, like, you can still kind of see it in the second from the left of your screen, orange mark. You can see that there's like a little bit of a mark on it. But yeah, I'm just getting over COVID, so I apologize for my voice, and pretty soon I will hopefully be speaking normally again. It has been a pretty intense ride, and it's definitely, I can understand how people want to get boosted regularly to avoid this. I unfortunately did not have time in my schedule to go out and do that, so I caught it, and it's been a very boring time. But I'm fortunate that my job covers for me. You know, if I didn't have that, like, I'd be... so thank you, my job. Here you see I'm trying to get... I fixed a little bit the area that I was feeling was problematic. And now I'm getting the other stuff in. It's cool. You see how, like, I'm spreading it out? That's a big area to cover. At first, it used to scare the shit out of me, and then now I'm starting to get a better hang of it. I'm still, like, you see how I'm, like, kind of, when I add the edges, it's not always coming out great. I think with these darker colors, they're a little bit less forgiving when you overlap them, and as opposed to blend them, right? Like, you can lay down a mark of color, and then you put down another one on top of it, and you've got double pigment on there, so you kind of have to blend it. I find it's better to work these when it's like, when the marker is wet. But yeah, here we're almost at the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. It's, you know, it's not my favorite piece, but it looks good enough for posting. It's an exercise. I do think that the colors look better, more even, but I feel like the edges on this are starting to, either they're really darker on the edges, and then in the middle you have like a light spot, or you just have light edges on the dark stuff. All the other colors seem to be fine. You know, the dark green could use a little bit more work, but in the meantime, like I said, these aren't the easiest tools to use, the Copic markers, but if you're interested in them, I've definitely enjoyed working with them. You know, this is not a paid promotion. This is just me describing the tools that I used. And I know that they're expensive. I would definitely not recommend trying to use a color that you don't have the refill for, because I don't even know that you could get through like a drawing. Depending on the drawing, you probably could. But nothing sucks more than running out of ink in the middle of it. So consider that when you're pricing these out. You know, if you get a box of 72, it's not going to be useless, but like you're really not going to get a lot of mileage out of the first load of ink. So I'm constantly, you know, I don't even think about it. But the ink lasts quite a long time, so just keep that in mind. It's a nice tool. As you can see, the results. I could go back and fix this, but I think that kind of defeats the purpose of just making these videos where I just upload a drawing. You know, it's fine. I don't like. Sometimes there's a good use of angled lines in here on the verticals, but that second line that second orange section, negative space that comes from the left, second from the left, it doesn't do it for me. That angle for me is not appealing. I like the line. It's, you know what? I flip back and forth on it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment. Definitely give me your thoughts on the drawing. What, any ideas, any color critiques, whatever. Just let me know down in the comments. Obviously, be nice because I'm a sensitive boy.